about anti-Black ideologies, and if you don't know who I am, my name is Now That I'm Locked. I have YouTube, I have Instagram, I have TikTok. Follow me, subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell and post notifications. That way you do not miss the content that I post. I talk about all things locks, and I have a lot of loose natural hair content that I posted prior to locking my hair. I talk about the different issues that are in the lock community and just encourage you to keep going. I give you tips on color treated locks and just taking care of your locks in general so they can live their best life and flourish. So without further ado, we're going to get into the video. We are talking about anti-Black ideologies when it comes to locks. So why did I pick this topic? Because locks, again, like I said last year, are starting to come to the forefront for people to start locking their hair. Like everybody and their mom is locking their hair. So that's cool. But what's not cool is the anti-Black ideologies. So you get people that if somebody is freeform and they think that they need to go get a retwist, things like that. Another way to compare that is even with loose natural hair. Some people prefer loose curls versus tightly coiled, tightly curled hair. And they'll say if someone has their fur out and let's say they have tightly coiled, tightly curled hair, they'll say, oh, they need a relaxer. Things like that. Those are anti-Black ideologies. That's anti-Black rhetoric. So we're going to get into it. When it comes to locks, people do locks in many different forms. So they can freeform, semi-freeform, do traditional locks like what I have. They also do micro locks and sister locks. So there's different types of locks, different ways people do that. The problem comes in when people have their anti-Black rhetoric that they want to spill. Like if you see people with shorter locks, if they should see people, with shorter locks, then what they'll do is be like, oh, like your hair looks like little pieces of Cheetos or little snakes and things like that. You know, they say little things that they feel like, oh, it's funny, but it's actually anti-Black rhetoric. Because if you saw somebody with a shortcut and their hair is relaxed and, you know, they got the curls from the flat iron, you're not going to say anything like that. But when it comes to somebody with locks, you'll say that. That's where it becomes anti-Black. So that's something to understand. Now, if you are someone that has anti-Black ideologies, which at one point in time we all did because we were either getting teased or we thought that having anti-Black ideologies was the way to go because we have been brainwashed. So they took a lot of our history and things like that out of books and things like that and just put in what they wanted. So we were never taught that Black hair was just beautiful in its essence, everything about it, and being Black was beautiful. So you have to unlearn those things. You have to read. I do suggest going to therapy just to talk about that. Get you a Black therapist that can relate to you and just talk about those things, right? So that you can unlearn those anti-Black ideologies that you have, because Black within itself is beautiful in every form, right? So there's those ideologies. There's also the ideology that you need to retwist your locks all the time and they need to be neatly manicured all the time for them to be acceptable. Like I recently did maintenance on my locks, but I'm not doing maintenance on my locks all the time. Number one, because I don't necessarily prefer maintenance on my locks all the time. I do like when my locks at the roots look thicker and things like that. I really don't like the neatly manicured look all the time. You know, if you want to see my maintenance videos and things like that and just me talking about my journey, I have tons of content on my channel and on both my TikTok and Instagram, right? So I prefer that. If somebody was to see somebody that was freeforming, which means they never get maintenance done, they just let their hair be and it grows out and they set the foundation in the beginning, they'll tell them, oh, you need a retwist. Like they don't need a retwist. They're freeforming their hair. They're not getting maintenance. The thing is, you need to retwist your mind with the anti-Black rhetoric that you're spewing, and you need to unlearn those anti-Black ideologies that you have about locks, right? Because locks don't necessarily always need to be retwisted for them to look presentable. I actually prefer seeing locks when they don't have the maintenance. I feel like it really brings out the style and gives the style that volume and that oomph, and it just is beautiful until it's time, you know, and your hair is letting you know it's time for you to get maintenance. You needing to get maintenance on your locks is not based on somebody spewing out anti-Black rhetoric. You needing to get maintenance is based on your hair. If you're someone where the hair grows away from the lock, your maintenance is going to be a little more frequently than somebody whose hair grows within the lock, right? So I talked about that before on my channel. But people have to come out of that ideology. You even have people that were relaxing their locks. And relaxing your hair is a very anti-black practice. Most people don't think that it is. So I'm just going to break it down to you because I have it on an Instagram post that I posted on my Instagram. So when you're relaxing the follicles of your hair, we as black people have tightly coiled, tightly curled hair or loosely curled hair or whatever format that it comes in, right? So when you're relaxing your hair, when you wet your hair is going to look the equivalent to somebody that is Caucasian and they go and they wet their natural hair and it's just like a slight wave, or it's not really a wave at all because they're also incorporating the flat irons. So you have taken away one of your features that makes you black and you've given yourself a Caucasian feature because you've chemically altered how your hair naturally is. So that's why it's an anti-black practice. People get their panties in a bunch and they get really upset about that when you say things about that. But it's like, that's really ultimately what it is. Now, those folks that want to argue and they want to stay in that anti-black rhetoric and they want to be ignorant, I typically don't pay them any mind. If they're not willing to sit here and to learn the information that I give to them so they can undo some of those anti-black ideologies, then I simply just block them because I don't have time to go back and forth with you if you want to stay stuck in an anti-black ideology. This is not for that. We are pro-black on my platform. I'm not anti-black at all. Y'all know that. Y'all know from my content. So anything that's anti-black, whether it's you in the comments saying something negative about locks or whatever the case may be, you're going to get blocked for that. And it's just that simple, right? So that's one thing that I also say about that. Now, that's just how I handle things. Some people, they go toe-to-toe with people. I don't do all that because I'm not going toe-to-toe with you. If you want to be ignorant and you want to stay in those anti-black ideologies, that's on you. So people need to understand that locks don't always need maintenance in order for it to look presentable to society. The point of you locking your hair was to break away from European standards and to break away from the norms that society set out that they felt like black hair is supposed to look like. Black hair originally was built on in society to look like the European beauty standards. So it's made to look very anti-black. They've made our hair to look very anti-black. Look at the loose natural hair movement. They had all these curl defining creams and gels and things like that to give your hair definition because they felt like the hair in its natural state without the creams and the gels and things like that, it doesn't look right. But that's further from the truth. That's the furthest thing from the truth. That's why before I started my lock journey, I was only using the hair butter and maybe a leave-in. And it wasn't to define my curls. It was just to keep my hair moisturized, right? So that's just something to keep in mind because I don't think people understand that. But back to what I was saying. People relax locks, and locks are not meant to be relaxed. Now, if you have relaxer in your hair and you lock your hair, that is different because your hair is going to grow out that relaxer as you lock it versus you have relaxed your hair for locks. Locks are not meant to always have super smooth roots and things like that. They're locks. So they're meant to be messy. They're meant to be frizzy. It's meant for you to let that be. It's not meant for you to try to tame all of that. The point of you locking your hair, again, is to move away from America's societal standards of the European beauty standards and move towards creating what black beauty is. And so black beauty is not anti-black practices and beauty standards. And so that's something to understand. So relaxing locks is a very anti-black thing to do because you are changing your hair for it to look smoother because you cannot accept your hair in its natural state. So I wanted to go more in depth about this because I've been seeing it. It's the same thing with people that relax their edges, but they have locks. So locks are meant to just be free. You wear your hair the way that it is. They're like, oh, I need to relax my edges. You need to relax them for what? Your hair is in locks. Let it be. Let your hair do its thing. You know, you don't need to put a chemical on your edges for it to lay down with your locks. Like, you don't need to do all of that. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. Like, I have gone a year and 3 months actually without laying my edges down. I never lay my edges down with my locks, like ever, right? So all that relaxing the edges and things like that, like, that's ridiculous. First off, your edges is the most like sensitive part of the hair follicle. That's the part of your hair that takes the longest to grow back around your temples. So you're putting a chemical on top, stunting the growth even more. So I never got the concept of relaxing edges, but people do it. But again, I've already explained to you why relaxing hair is anti-black, right? And I've already explained to you why relaxing locks is anti-black. When people get locks, they're not relaxing their hair to get locks. Locks are best in their natural state, not relaxed, with a chemical in it. So people have to understand that. And that comes with undoing anti-black ideologies. But I tell people, if you don't want to undo your anti-black ideologies and you see that somebody is talking to you about undoing and unlearning those anti-black ideologies, it's not your place, and you don't even have to argue back and forth with those people. If you want to stay rooted in that ignorance of being anti-black and having those ideologies, I cannot change your mindset for that, and neither can anybody else. So the best thing to do would be to just keep scrolling and go to somebody that has an anti-black ideology, since that is what you're into and that's what you like. And then y'all can go over there and have a field day and a good old time. Because the people that are trying to debunk and undo and help people unlearn anti-black ideologies, they're not going to keep arguing back and forth with you. You got to go where it is you want to have those ideologies. I know that I can't help change everybody and help everybody unlearn anti-black ideologies, but if I can help some people, I think I'm doing an excellent job. And I've helped a lot of people unlearn it. Like I said, we've all had that because we have been brainwashed to think that wigs and straightening hair and relaxed hair and looser curl textures and things like that are better than how our hair is in its natural state. And that's not true. Black hair comes in all different shapes, sizes, and forms. So it can be loose curls to tightly coiled, tightly curled hair, you know? So those are just the things I wanted to go over and talk about. I try to do longer videos now for the purposes of YouTube, just to get you guys some longer content out to go more in depth instead of doing let's do this in 60 seconds. So I really hope my video was helpful. I hope that it was informative. If you still want to have anti-black rhetoric and ideologies, then you can always just scroll and skip out. You don't even have to watch this. This is for people that want to unlearn, want to become educated, and that really want to see things from a different perspective. So I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.